Certainly. In Python, one of the best practices for writing functions is to include docstrings. Docstrings are a type of documentation string that describe what a function does, its parameters, return values, and any exceptions it might raise. This is especially useful for anyone, including your future self, who might use or maintain your code. Creating Python function docstrings structure of a docstring. A typical docstring follows a certain structure. Here's a common format: Python def function name paramon, param to a brief description of what the function does. Parameters paramon type description of the first parameter. Returns type description of the return value. Raises exception type description of the exception raised, if applicable. Parameters an int, a non-negative integer, whose factorial is to be calculated. Returns the factorial of the number and raises value or if a negative integer. You can include examples of how to use the function directly in the docstring, and the doctest module will run those examples as tests. Adding doctests to the docstring, you can include examples in your docstring like so: Python def factorial and calculate the factorial of a non-negative integer. Parameters an int, a non-negative integer whose factorial is to be calculated. Returns int the factorial of the number. Raises value or if is a negative integer. Examples: factorial 5 120 factorial 0 1 factorial 1 1 factorial on trace back most recent call last 120 CPU y shoe y Value or input must be a non-negative integer. If everything works as expected, you won't see any output if there are rare mismatches. Doctest will print out the discrepancies. Complete example here was the complete code with the docstring and doctests. Python def factorial and calculate the factorial of a non-negative integer. Parameters int, a non-negative integer whose factorial is to be calculated. Returns the factorial of the number. Raises value or if a negative integer. Examples: factorial 5 120 factorial 0 1 factorial 1 1 factorial on traceback most recent call last 100 Value or input must be a non-negative integer. This makes your code more maintainable and user-friendly. happy coding,